President of the Greater Killeen Chamber of Commerce. Happy to have you join us today. The mission of our chamber is to provide vision, leadership, and support to community leaders and businesses to create economic prosperity. And there's nothing more important to economic prosperity than education. And that's the subject of our conversation today. Before we get to the subject and our guest, let me make a couple of quick announcements. You'll see some website information in the comments section of this video, this live stream. And you can also ask questions by typing them into the comments section, and they'll come to me, and I will discuss them with our guest. We do have a sponsor for this event. It's Syntex Technologies. Syntex Technology is an information technology, web development, and online marketing company located here in Killeen. They've been serving Central Texas area for over 14 years. In fact, Syntex Technologies was founded by Abdul Sapani, a true definition of the American dream, past board chairman of ours. So no matter how large or small the project, you can rely on Syntex Technologies to develop a custom solution for your business. Subject today is return to school. And our guest is Dr. John Kraft, Superintendent of KISD. Didn't know until recently John was born in Temple. I think that's the case.
Yes, sir.
Spent most of his youth in the Metroplex. Began his public education career in 1999 in the Metroplex area. Served in many positions there, from teachers to coach to all kinds of positions. Was the superintendent in the Hamilton School District. In 2012, he came here as deputy superintendent to Robert Muller. And in 2014, he became the superintendent of the Killeen Independent School District. Personal aside, our community is very, very fortunate in that we have 3 education collaborators here. John is one of them at KISD. Jim Yiannopoulos is another at Central Texas College, and Dr. Mark Nigliazzo at A&M Central Texas. And those 3 people really work well together, and they've created a new model of education that's really a demonstration for the state. Produces educated students in a relatively brief period of time for a extremely low amount of money compared to others. So John's a collaborator, and we're lucky to have him here. He's becoming a statewide leader. So John, that's the best I can do for you. I made that up.
No, that's really really good. I appreciate it, John. I'll like I say, pass you that $20 bill next time I see you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
I'll take it. So you're going to make a few opening comments, and you've got some PowerPoint slides that I think you want to walk through, and then we'll get to the Q&A.
Yes, sir.
Anyway.
Great. Well, it's great to be with you all this afternoon, and I apologize we're not able to meet in person and to provide this update. I think that the big question right now, obviously, is are we coming back to school? Are we coming back to school and allowing students face-to-face or in-person instruction, and then when? And I'll preface this entire conversation today with really the past several weeks in that this is a very, very fluid and remains a very fluid situation. Even as we speak right now, it is increasingly fluid, and I'll describe kind of what's going on a little bit more in detail. I do think that as we talk about, the state of education, particularly public education, we have significant challenges before us, no question about it. But as I've tasked and challenged our leadership team last week when everyone returned, I think that this is also an opportunity for tremendous accelerating opportunities for change that I think are going to be sustained. I think that we're going to experience a lot of lessons learned, and we're going to learn from this virtual environment that we're all navigating. And I think that we're going to see that there is absolutely some staying power that is going to, I think, help us as an education entity for years and years to come. And that's been the challenge, like I say, with our staff is what we were experiencing prior to spring break. We may see a simulation of that return, but I think that it's going to be somewhat changed. And I think that these are going to be platforms that we are launching as we speak that are going to carry us well into the future. So let me jump into trying to answer some of the questions. First and foremost, we recognize that there are a lot of factors and a lot of components that go into the overall education and educational experience that we are able to provide students. And we've listed several, and this is not all inclusive. And we like to think that, of course, safety and instruction are our two top priorities. But we understand, like I say, we've got athletes, we've got student athletes, we've got fine arts. We offer a lot of opportunities that, like I say, really contribute to the development of our well-rounded individual student. And these are all thoughts and factors that we're absolutely taking into consideration. Our objectives in developing our plans, of course, I mentioned health and safety. We realize that we must provide healthy and safety environments for that are going to be conducive to student learning, staff engagement, first and foremost, particularly in the midst of a global pandemic. The continuity of instruction, this is a term that we've really come to know well ever since March 13th, when the decision was made to close schools to face-to-face instruction. That we are tasked with providing and continuing to provide a level of education that exceeds standards, because while we may not be able to meet face-to-face, that doesn't mean that students don't have the needs to continue to learn. And so, again, this is that area of instruction that we really feel like that we can continue to improve. One of the big factors that we're also really diligently working towards is effective communication. As much as we're changing and as fluid as the situation is, we recognize and realize the importance of being able to communicate to our families and to our staff exactly what is transpiring, knowing that it may change. Again, a term that we've become very familiar with is the ability to pivot. And we have got to be adaptable. We've got to be flexible in our development of plans and our implementation of plans so that we can pretty well accommodate any particular situation as it may arise. The training piece, we've had to shift our focus from probably the more traditional orthodox type trainings, particularly at the beginning of the school year, to really how do we stand up and support the virtual environment. There will be some COVID-19 precautionary protocol training for when we return to face-to-face, but the vast majority of our staff training is really been focused on how do we support the virtual environment, because we recognize we've got to, one, be ready, and we've got to, two, ensure that this is going to be sustainable in the environment that we can pivot to in the event that we have to look at a school closure and or a district closure to, again, come back to that continuity of instruction provision. And then, of course, supporting our KISD family along the way. It's one thing to ensure our teachers and our students are eventually acclimated to the online platforms and virtual training, but we know we've also got to support our parents in these efforts, because they're going to be in large part a contributing factor to their students' education in the coming days. Next slide. So the two educational platforms that we've developed, and we've been very intentional in our thought process, is, again, flexibility, adaptability. Of course, the traditional in-person, and this is really, as it's described, what we really were accustomed to prior to spring break. We believe that we're going to be able to provide a safe environment with additional safety procedures and protocol in place that, when allowed, we'll be able to provide that opportunity that students will be able to opt in to send their students back to school. The traditional in-person plan, again, PPE provisions, we are going to require masks to be worn by all students and staff. And we know that we're going to need to also run a parallel online platform, not only for the students that elect to stay at home to receive instruction, but also for our face-to-face or in-person students to be able to pivot to if the situation is warranted. The second platform is just that, it's the virtual learning platform. And we're going to be looking to deliver this educational experience both live or also referred to as synchronous and or asynchronous or recorded lessons. I think there are advantages to both. If students are able to zoom in or tune into their teachers, their actual scheduled teachers live, there's tremendous advantages, but there's also advantages to being able to watch a recorded, whether it be pre-recorded or a recorded lesson earlier that day through the classroom experience, to be able to go back to and look at tutorials, look at concepts that may have been missed, whether they're in person and or live during that synchronous learning experience, that I think will help all students. The student intent form, we've launched this as of July 17th. It closes the 27th. This is not a declaration form. We will allow parents to change their minds or students to change their minds, but we're trying to get a feel for how do students, seeing that these are the two platforms we're going to be working to offer, what is their intent? Do they want to start face-to-face, or are they really looking to resume their instruction at the house with the ability to come to face-to-face instruction if and when that time presents itself and is appropriate. Right now, I will say that based on the intent forms that we've received, it's about a 40-60 split. 60% of our parents electing to remain in the virtual environment, and 40% electing to return for face-to-face instruction when that opportunity presents itself. Again, communicating our COVID-19 safety procedures protocol, including hand washing, sanitation efforts, mitigation efforts. I mentioned the face mask or face coverings that will be required. We are going to ask students to be screened along with staff to be self-screened, i.e. taking temperatures, ensuring that they're not coming to school sick. We're looking at other strategic initiatives to include transitions between classes, establishment of teacher safe zones, if you will, and of course the reduction of communal sharing. You're all familiar with schoolhouses. There's a lot of sharing that transpires, a lot of collaboration. We're going to have to scale that back to try to mitigate, like I say, the potential spread of COVID-19 going forward. Next slide. Again, additional cleaning. We're in the process of solidifying contracts to bring in additional custodial support to clean during the course of the day, particularly the common areas, the areas that are high traffic, high touch. We're going to really encourage students and teach students appropriate hygiene to include several hand washing breaks throughout the course of the day. And I mentioned the temperature checks and of course the face coverings that are going to be also required. Social distancing. I know that one of the questions is, how do you social distance throughout the course of a school day? And we're going to do our very best. Now, we realize that there are going to be challenges, and depending on the environment, and of course, the number of students, the number of participants that will be there at the campus for face-to-face or in-person instruction is going to be contingent upon how much social distancing we're going to be able to provide, but that is going to be our goal. Based on a 50-50 or a 60-40 split, we feel like that these efforts are going to be much easier to attain than we would if we had all 46,000 students and fully at capacity. We will be providing school supplies again to ensure that we're trying to reduce the communal spread. As far as school nutrition, I know that one of the questions has been asked, why don't we just plan on eating in each of the individual's classrooms? Unfortunately, our elementary campuses are not self-contained, which means the students, even at the elementary level, alternate in and amongst grade level teachers for various disciplines. We believe that it would be actually safer to be able to wipe down thoroughly clean tables within cafeteria spaces after each lunch period to ensure, like I say, that we're reducing the potential spread. In the event that we are providing a virtual learning environment, we will provide the grab-and-go meals just as we did in the spring and over the course of the summer as well. As far as transportation, I know that this has also been a large concern or big concern that's been brought forward. TEA is not requiring us to social distance, if you will, on the bus. We won't be limiting capacity beyond the restrictions for each vehicle, but we will be social distancing in the event that we think, again, if 40% of our students elect to return for face-to-face instruction, that won't be necessarily as challenging. We'll also be sanitizing each bus with our e-mister systems, which is kind of a spray in between tiers. So we usually run 3 tiers, excuse me, of routes. And what that entails is after each group of students is dropped off at their campus, we'll go through and, like I say, thorough clean the bus before we pick up the next group of students to take to their next campus. Again, employee professional development, at this time, we're planning on bringing our teachers back on August 4th. We'll have 9 days to ensure that they're ready to engage students in this virtual online platform. You see the trainings that we're going to be including to include our learning management system, Schoology, a platform for our pre-K through second grade students, which is there's going to be some challenges associated with our smaller students, younger students, navigating this virtual world. You're all familiar with Zoom, obviously, and then, like I say, some other online platforms that I think we're going to be able to streamline our efforts to provide a high-quality virtual educational experience. And then again, COVID-19 protocols, we're going to be really working with staff to ensure that one, they're safe, but they're also helping to provide a safe environment and to mitigate the spread of the COVID-19 virus. As far as technology support, we're working through this now. Actually, we will be charged with providing technology devices and/or connectivity to any student that is in need. We're going to be standing up support hotlines, and of course, I mentioned the platform trainings that we're going to be providing. We want to stand up the support hotlines because one of the things we experienced in the spring were parents having challenges logging in, but then also parents having experiencing challenges with the instructional content itself. So we're going to try to establish hotlines actually for both to support both at the campus level. And I think that's going to be a major change for us coming into this fall semester versus the spring semester. I think I've got maybe 1 or 2 more. Next slide. Of course, our return to learning timeline, we have already actually articulated our plan in a public meeting with the board and to the community. Again, the 27th, the student intent forms are due, and then the 4th through the 14th is really our primary focus right now in successfully bringing staff back for professional development. And then, of course, our intent is still to start school on August 17th. Now, I want to pause here because, again, I mentioned that this is a very fluid situation, and I am expecting that we may be starting on August 17th or thereafter, depending on the level of devices and support we can provide on a virtual platform. Similar to what you've seen in Dallas County, I think Harris County, McLennan County, have all elected to delay the starts. And when I say elected, the county health experts are making these calls to delay the start of face-to-face, the face-to-face option for students. I'm fully anticipating at this point, based on the conversations that I've had with our county health experts, for that decision to be forthcoming here at really any point, to delay, cause districts to delay that face-to-face, first day of face-to-face instruction. And so we're going to really explore, can we support all 46,000 students on a virtual platform? And if we can, our intent is still to start the 17th. If not, then we'll be looking to potentially delay, and we'll start at a later date, not to exceed September 8th, and just back everything back and like I say, ensure that we're ready to start either all virtual and/or the combination of virtual and face-to-face. And so, like I say, it's still a situation that's very fluid. that we're continuing to adapt to. We're continuing to modify plans. I wish I had all of the answers. I've just learned along the journey here that, particularly in the last couple of weeks, just when you start to think you kind of have things figured out, you don't. So don't kid yourself, John, in thinking you got the plan. It is it's fluid, and we are having to adapt and modify literally every day, almost hour by hour. And so, John, I appreciate again the time. I'll pause and try to answer any questions that we have from our audience.
Well, one of the interesting things about it is every school district in the state's going through exactly the same thing. Some have probably not doing as well or handling it as professionally as you are. So thank you for that. Couple of questions. Is the 60-40 split you mentioned, in person versus virtual, is that consistent across elementary, middle, and high school levels, or does it vary?
That's a great question. I don't have it. We do have the information. I don't have it in front of me as to how it is spread across each grade level. I'm going to venture to say if it's close to our survey results that we launched earlier in June, there's a lot more reservation at the elementary level returning for the face-to-face, and I understand. Secondary students, it's kind of the notion, as I have a 7th grader and a 9th grader myself. Get ready, because as soon as you can go back for face-to-face instruction, Peyton Reagan, you're going. So the elementary, like I say, the younger the student population, the more we're seeing really, like I say, the concerns of returning for face-to-face for safety concerns, obviously.
Yeah. Another question, with the offering of an online platform for elementary, how will KISD measure comprehension of each individual student?
That's a great question. That's going to be one of the major differences with the online platform that we'll be launching this fall, and the online platform that we pivoted to in the spring. So assessments, attendance, assignments, these will all be an expectation, and furthermore, they'll be graded. And the students will have to submit through the learning management system in order to attain credit. And so assessments is a great example. We're looking at a couple of different platforms to ensure the fidelity of the testing environment. But this is going to be a little bit of a new challenge for us. But if you kind of think about all of the requirements that students were, like I say, required to submit and complete in the in-person environment, that's going to be translated to the online environment as well. Like I say, we've had our learning management system in place now for about 3 years, 4 years. The teachers have, over the course of that time, become much more familiar. And in fact, a lot of our teachers, that is the platform, whether they're working at home and or working there in class, that they submit and have submitted their assignments to the teacher for, like I say, for grading purposes for the last several years. So that will be, in essence, the expectation.
Okay, will KISD leadership have any forums or meetings with parents? Will parents receive training for virtual instructions? Will students have a daily schedule?
Those are all great questions. The training, yes, we're going to be, in fact, we've already started to work on the video training modules so that the parents are familiar, like I say, with the platforms and of course the expectations as well. The ability to provide face-to-face training, again, for obvious reasons, is going to be challenging. Sorry, if you'll repeat the second question in there.
Will parents receive training for virtual instruction?
Yes, like I say, that'll be the recorded platform or recorded training videos. I thought there were a couple more.
Okay.
Daily schedules. Thank you. That's also going to be kind of a major difference in the sense that, yes, students, all students, particularly at the secondary level, so middle and high school students, are all going to receive a schedule just as they would for in-person instruction. And they're going to be expected to log in and follow in the virtual environment those schedules to receive credit for each of those classes. In the spring, we really allowed students to log in. It was more of a modified, almost optional type environment. This is going to be for credit, and the students are going to have to log in. We will be taking attendance based on login information through our learning management system and that platform in order for the students to get credit. There might have been one more piece of that question. I apologize.
Will KISD leadership have any forums or meetings with parents?
Yeah, that's just gonna be really challenging. In fact, one of the things we're having to do, unfortunately, when we're able to return for face-to-face instruction, is we're going to have to really limit visitation. And as much as we hate to do that, we're going to allow for appointments. Of course, we're going to try to provide support, but parents, unfortunately, trying to visit the classroom, visit cafeteria, very similar to trying to control the spread from a forum standpoint, not initially. If you kind of think about contact tracing, or at least from a contact tracing perspective, what we're really trying to do is alleviate as much as possible environments where groups of individuals come from different homes, but also different environments, and then potentially go back. It's going to make it really difficult to implement potential isolation protocol if and when we find ourselves in a position of a presumptive positive case, and like I say, the contact tracing and having to err on the side of safety. So it's just, for the time being, we're hoping that we're going to be able to open things up more as we get into the semester, but it's going to be somewhat restrictive, and we're going to have to be careful. But the virtual platforms will be offered, John. I'm sorry. So we'll be, the forums, the things that we're going to be working on, trainings. We absolutely want to try to answer all the questions that community members and parents may have, and we're going to make everything virtual that we possibly can.
Some point in time, as you get down the road in all of this, assuming it goes on for a while, parent may have a need to talk to a teacher. Will they be able to set up appointments to do that? Maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's in person, but it's an individual appointment where the contact can be tracked and logged, and will that be made available at some point in time?
Absolutely. And again, we're going to encourage our staff and our teachers to actually be even more communicative than they've been, because we realize there are some obvious barriers, particularly with the virtual platform. So appointments will be able to be made for the face-to-face environment or meetings. Of course, we'll have access to email, phone messages. I still like good old-fashioned phone conversations, and we're going to highly encourage teachers to really make that personal contact, because we realize we're going to absolutely need parents to be partners in this process in order for the students to ultimately be successful. They are in large part going to be a huge part of their students' success in the virtual environment, and we're going to want to make sure that the teachers and that the parents have that direct communication.
Okay, 3 more questions. Fairly quick questions. How will the virtual option work for children that are in the 504 program?
So the 504 and special education, special populations, again, if it's face-to-face or in person, very similar to what we've all been able to do in the past. Physical therapy, hands-on services, we're going to obviously need to utilize some additional PPE, and like I say, our team is already in the process of making those plans and preparations. If we're in the virtual environment, we're going to reach out to parents, and we're going to actually work with them individually in trying to schedule appointments in the school facility, assuming we're allowed or afforded that opportunity by the Bell County Health department to go ahead and bring the students in if the parents are comfortable, and like I say, work with them, even though the remainder of the campus may be, or school district may be virtual. We're going to really work individually as much as we possibly can with all of our special population students, because they're all going to have individual education plans, and it's going to be really important that those are being implemented with fidelity in meeting those students' needs. And so if for some reason we run into a challenge, we just need to know, and we'll try to troubleshoot. One of the things, like I say, that's become pretty evident just in our experiences here recently is we know that we're going to encounter obstacles, and we just need to be ready to troubleshoot and improvise and get really creative very quickly.
So will you take that same approach to students who are identified as you go through the school year that need tutoring? Is that going to be handled one-on-one, obviously, and in the same kind of format?
Yeah, we will be offering the intervention programs. We have a tiered intervention system, and so that's going to be really implemented by the classroom teacher, identified through the obviously instructional process that the teacher will be implementing. And then absolutely, I think that some of our teachers, particularly at the high school level, have already become pretty masterful in getting study groups together via like I say, the Zoom platform or other platforms for technically after school or after hours tutorial sessions. And I think that, like I say, that will absolutely be a measure that will be implemented in the coming fall semester, probably into the spring.
Here's we'll wind up with a question you're going to like. How can parents best help KISD and the teachers right now?
That's a great question. Patience and flexibility. And that really is, I think, that the greatest assistance that can be provided, because as much as I would love to promise that the virtual and synchronous, asynchronous, and face-to-face or in-person instruction environment is going to go off without a hitch, I'm not that naive. I realize that this is a huge undertaking, a monumental task. And if we can just, again, continue to ask for patience, understanding, if we make some mistakes along the way, which we will, forgiveness, and we'll get better. And we're going to get through this. But like I say, there's going to be some challenges, particularly with the beginning of the school year and the initial implementation. And we appreciate their continued support. This is going to be trying on, I'm afraid, all parties involved. But we're going to remain dedicated to, again, providing the absolute most and best support we possibly can to ensure our students are successful.
Dr. Kraft, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it. Best of luck to you and your team. You guys are professionals. We stay together. We'll get through this. We'll be better off. We'll learn some powerful lessons that'll benefit us in the long run. So hang in there. Let me make a couple of quick announcements before we close. Website information will be posted on this video. The Chamber has a website you can access www.cleanchamber.com. KISD has website information that's been posted. I want to again thank our sponsor, Syntex Technology. It's an IT web development online marketing company located here in the community. Great people. Dr. Kraft and I both work with Abdul Sapani. Great American, very resourceful, helpful guys. And if you need IT help of any kind, I would encourage you to call on Abdul's company. A reminder, we also have webinars every Tuesday and Thursday, Tuesday at 11 o'clock and Thursday at 2 o'clock with subject matter of interest to our members. We'd encourage you to tune into those. And again, Dr. Kraft, thanks for all you do. Thanks for your team. And I can't tell you how much we enjoy working with you guys.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Hope you all have a great upcoming weekend.
Thank you.